Before all that, it's the phone-in. Have you bought the card yet? You got the flowers ordered? Maybe you've booked lunch or arranged some chocolates instead? There's a lot of pressure when it comes to Mother's Day to show your mum she's extra special. But we can do that any day of the year. So do we need Mother's Day? A nursery in Belgium has decided to cancel any celebrations this year and instead have a family day to recognise how modern families are. So do we need Mother's Day in 2018? 08085 92 95 00 is the number to call. 80295 to text us. Maybe you relish the chance to say thanks to your mum for everything she's done for you down the years. Maybe as a mum, you appreciate the attention. It's one day when you're appreciated for everything you've done, the sacrifices you've made. Or do you think it's just another cynical and manipulative attempt to take our money and make us feel guilty and fill that gap between Valentine's and Easter for the card companies? Whatever you think, get in touch. 08085 92 95 00 to call. It's free to call us. Or you can text 80295. Dennis, Mother's Day must be kept and promoted. Mothers are essential glue that holds the family together through good and bad times. April, though, on Facebook, no. I lost my mum very suddenly. I didn't get the chance to tell her I loved her before she died. You don't need one day to tell your mother how much they care. You never know what's around the corner. And like me, you may never get the chance to say how much they mean to you. Carson Joe on Twitter. We don't need any of these days. If you're blessed with a loving mother, be kind to her every day. Many people don't have good parents and are guilt-tripped into buying rubbish for them. Plus, some people just can't afford it either. Tommy, I no longer have a mum, but on my birthday, she was always got a big bunch of flowers and a thank you note from me. So what do you think? Do we still need Mother's Day? Is it unnecessary pressure, unnecessary spending, forcing people to do something because it's what everybody else is doing? Or is it a harmless way of saying once a year thank you to the person who brought you into the world? 08085 92 95 00, 80295 on the text. Moira Cormac, mum of 4, hands full here. Twins aged 20, a 17-year-old and an 11-year-old as well. Morning, Moira.
Good morning, Stephen.
You are right at the coalface of motherhood in terms of what you've got there. What's Mother's Day normally like for you?
Well, the girls always celebrate it. We've always celebrated it. So they come and they some years they pick daffodils from the garden. I don't think they'll be doing it this year. My garden is still completely snowbound. But they pick daffodils. They bring me breakfast in bed. They bring me a little present, a book or something like that. And it's nice to have a day where I'm acknowledged. We don't spend a huge quantity of money on it. We don't go out for a big meal, but they might cook for me at home that day and clear up so that I have a day where I'm appreciated and it's very obvious that I'm appreciated. And I think that's really nice because as a mum, it's often quite an invisible job. You know, if you go to work and you do something really well, you've got your boss that says, good job there. You know, I'll be telling the boss about that, or what a great job you've done this year. You can have a raise. But none of that ever happens at home. There is no sort of overall appreciation. A lot of the time, you are just doing a lot of things that just aren't really seen. They are overall appreciated. I mean, I'm loved and appreciated, but all the little things I do that add up aren't always seen. So for me, I definitely think it's nice to have a day where a mother is acknowledged. So
what if the girls are listening to this, Moira, and they maybe hear some views that are contrary, that are saying, no, it's just all a commercial rip-off, and so maybe they stop and you don't get what you expect this Mother's Day. How would you feel?
I think they would tell me before they just did it. So I think there would be an agreement there. I can't imagine any of my children just doing something like that. And I think that the drive for them to show me some appreciation has just always been there. So I'm not 100% sure that they would do that.
But where does that drive come from? There's two things you can't forget in life. You can't forget your wedding anniversary, and you can't forget Mother's Day, can you? So is that drive coming from society, or from the expectation of you maybe going, what are we doing for Mother's Day this year? Or is it coming from them, do you think, Moira?
I think it's coming from them. I think that it's driven from them now. I think they like the thought of having a place to appreciate. I mean, I'm sure that they and I are perfectly capable of seeing that it is also a money-making industry. I mean, you would have to be blind not to be able to see that side of it. But something like that always comes for a reason. So it started off as a good thing, a day when you actively appreciated your mother. And then, of course, it became much more commercial. But do you stop it because it's been taken over by commercial? Or do you just downscale it to make it a homemade thing again? You know, you don't have to say this has become really commercial, therefore it's lost its value. That's not necessarily a logical argument, but you can still have it without having the commercialisation.
Did you always celebrate it for your mum, Moira?
Yes, and I will be celebrating it for my mum this year as well.
And how have you seen it maybe change down the years in terms perhaps of how you celebrate it with your mum compared to how your daughters celebrate it with you?
I think that it's very similar, really. I think maybe we hand these things on subconsciously or in some kind of way. We just, do things in families. I think maybe, for my mum, we would take her flowers and we would give her a card and we would all get together if we were local or call her on that day just to say, thank you and let her know that we're thinking of her. But we wouldn't do a huge commercial thing around it.
Can you recognise there is some pressure around this, though? If you've got, say you've maybe got, a couple of kids who aren't terribly into celebrating it or, just don't do it. Don't get involved in this and engage with it. Or, we've heard some stories this week of people in the media talking about having lost mums at a very early age and how painful Mother's Day is for them. Can you recognise that there is a kind of pressure around this as well? And it's great if you're in a good place like you are, but for other people, it can be tough.
It can be tough. I mean, all the celebrations can be tough, can't they? Christmas can be tough. Valentine's can be tough. If you're single, all these things have a side where it's very difficult for some people to cope with them. I mean, if you had a family day and Father's Day, there are always people who are going to feel left out by all these celebrations. I mean, it is tough, and there will come a point in time for all of us when we don't have our mothers because they're not going to be there forever. That's how it goes. So that of course that is tough. But do you do away with it because it's tough? Do you stop Christmas and Valentine's and Mother's Day? I don't know. I mean,
maybe it's all the more reason to celebrate them when you have them.
I would have thought so because it's, Valentine's is romantic, but your mother is there for you and she's raised you and she does a lot for you. And if families choose not to celebrate, then that's fine. They can choose not to celebrate. I mean, I think what they're doing in Belgium is also lovely. I think it would be great if the state said, let's have another public holiday and call it Family Day. But then again, from your argument, people would again be left out of that. But you could choose your family, couldn't you? So
Sure.
You could have a day with the family that you'd chosen. And it would be nice to celebrate, families, not just the ones we grew with, but the ones we've made for ourselves.
Yeah, for a lot of people nowadays, the friends of the family, really, aren't they, as well? Moira,
so
thank
it'd
you.
be really nice to have, it's not saying this is more important than the others. It's just saying that there is some value to this, and you don't have to necessarily be massively commercial about it to show a little appreciation.
For the moment, Moira, thank you very much. We'll come back to you a little bit later. That's Moira Cormac there, mum of 4, looking forward to Mother's Day. What sounds like a really nice non-commercial, homemade celebration this weekend. What do you think? Do we still need Mother's Day? Do we still need to celebrate that? Or should every day be a celebration, as a nursery in Belgium says it's not going to mark it? Instead, they're going to have a family day. Maybe we do need a family day in the calendar as well to reflect the many forms that modern families and bringing up children take. What do you think? Do we need Mother's Day? 08085 92 95 00 is the number to call. It's 80295 on the text. Alistair in Perth. Mothering Sunday was a church thing. Girls in service were allowed to out of work that day to go home to their mother church on a Sunday once a year. It's been hijacked by retailers. Andrew on Facebook, it's just harmless fun. What do you think? 80295 to text us or 08085 92 95 00 to give us a call this morning. Nicola Crean, mum of 2, joins me now. Nicola, morning.
Good morning, Stephen.
What's the problem with Mother's Day?
I wouldn't say that there's a problem with Mother's Day as such. My personal opinion is when I spoke to producers this morning, and the idea of a family day I thought was great because, I work with children, and over the years I've saw the pain of people who don't have a mum. I've also seen the pain, for example, in Father's Day, that kids of their fathers have went and left them, and it just brings it home that they don't have a father there. Also, I've seen many people who have people there for them and love and support them like a mother or like a family member but they're not blood related. So I think a family day would be a better idea than just a Mother's Day or a Father's Day. I think it's a great idea, and you don't need to go out and spend a fortune either to show someone how much you love them. So I would be all for the family day. I think it's good what they're doing.
You've got a son who's 11, a daughter who's 2. So what will this Sunday be like in your house, Nicola?
Well, my little girl just joined nursery. She's come out twice this week with a handmade Happy Mother's Day card, which to me just means everything. I've always encouraged my children that they don't need to buy me things to show me how much they love me. Every day, what your other caller there was saying, as a mum, sometimes, the jobs, you don't get that gratification, but I don't feel like that at all. My children both, on a daily basis, the love and appreciation that I get, they tell me they love me all the time, cuddles all the time as well. To me, it's the most rewarding job in the world, and I don't think you need a day to spend a lot of money to feel that. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, and maybe it's pressure on them, on the little ones as well, to, when they see, at school they're making cards and things, so then they're expected when they're older to buy cards, and then their friends have maybe saved up and bought a bunch of flowers as well, and this pressure starts to build.
Yeah, and especially now with social media, it's all a big competition. How much, who's taking who where, who's buying who what. You see that pressure, and it's a shame for people out there that maybe can't afford it. And it does. You don't need to spend money to show that your mum that you love them. I will be visiting my mum and my gran. I'm very lucky to still have them both here. But I've never been a big believer in going out and having to spend a fortune. You shouldn't need to do that to show them how much you love them. I think there is a lot of companies out there that totally milk the whole thing, to be honest. And
we'll talk about that in just a second. So with your mum, you still got your mum.
I do.
What do you do with her on Mother's Day?
Well, our family kind of work all over the place. We don't. Some of us work quite far away. Some of us live far away. So I'm making an effort this year to be there, just to visit and be there, and I will bring gifts as well. But I think just being there and just showing, just letting them know that you love them, and I think is adequate. So I will be making an hour and a half round trip to just visit my mum and my nan, just to let them know that I'm there and that I love them.
Nicola, we're going to come back to you in a little minute, so stay with us. On the text, Jay, Mother's Day is commercial tokenism, overpriced cards, flowers, chocolates. It's a little sad. I used to take my mum out for lunch to buy her flowers, not necessarily on one set Sunday. It does not take a cards company to remind you your ma is your ma. We speak to a cards company. Right now, this morning, we're on the phone in this weekend, Mother's Day, our annual opportunity to celebrate what our mums mean to us. But a nursery in Belgium says it won't be marking the occasion, and instead we'll be having a family day to better reflect the many forms modern families take. So with 2 days to go, do we still need Mother's Day in 2018? 08085 92 95 00 to give us a call. 80295 to text us. McDonald's offering a 3-course Mother's Day meal for a tenner this weekend. Lots of offers in restaurants around as well. It's become a big commercial thing. Do we still need it? Do you think should every day be Mother's Day? Or maybe you're not part of a, quotes, traditional family. Maybe you're a 2 dads family or an otherwise different family. And do you think Mother's Day just signals something that makes life even more complicated for you? 08085 92 95 00 to call us, 80295 to text us. Talking about the commercial side of this, let's do that now with Sharon Little, CEO of the Greeting Card Association. Sharon, good morning.
Good morning.
Big day for you this Sunday.
Absolutely. Big day for the whole country.
Do we still need Mother's Day?
I think we do. I would completely agree with everything that Moira had to say earlier. It's a special day to show your appreciation for all the little things and big things that mums have done through their lives for your family.
But we can do that 365 days of the year. Why do we have to be spending money with your members on cards, on flowers, on chocolates, maybe money that we can't really afford to spend?
You don't have to spend a lot of money to buy a card. And if you don't want to buy a card, a handmade card that you've made is going to be extra special too. I think the most important thing is that I think a card is really important because a card is something that stays there after you've had your celebration. And it's something that we don't see handwriting very often anymore. Handwriting is so personal to every individual. It reflects our personality, it reflects our mood, and it is there with that message after the event has passed. You might not live close to your mum, so it's really nice for her to have something to display on her shelf and to look at and think about and remember how much you love her.
Yeah, but that's the past, isn't it? Well, it's voicemail messages. It's text nowadays, Sharon, isn't it?
But they're not real. They're not real, and they don't keep on giving in the same way that a handwritten note does.
What's the future for this, do you think? Do you think that we could have a family day, as is being suggested in Belgium, that does kind of reflect maybe how families are changing and childhood is changing as well? It's another opportunity for the greeting card industry. There you go. I'll give you that one.
I think we should definitely add it in to the calendar.
Where have you got a gap in the calendar? Because that's basically what Mother's Day is about. Come on, be honest. Be honest with Scotland. You're filling the gap between Valentine's and Easter. That's all you're doing, isn't it?
Mother's Day has been around for a lot longer than Valentine's Day. So, and we really love cards in this country. In fact, we buy more cards per person than any other nation, and it's the number one top craft hobby in this country as well. So we really like design. We love cards, and we love showing our appreciation in that way. In fact, just the figures for sending, for buying cards, we bought, our most recent figures show that we bought nearly 30 million Mother's Day cards. So last year. So, that is huge. And then we also make so many cards as well. Kids make cards at school for their mums. It's a really personal thing to do, I think, and we should definitely keep it.
Sharon, compared to the other celebrations in the year when we send cards, Valentine's, Christmas, birthdays, how is Mother's Day holding up in terms of the cards that are sent?
Really well. So I think the quantity of cards sent, the biggest is Christmas. Birthday and other everyday cards come in next, and then Mother's Day is one of the spring season's events, which also comprises Valentine's Day, Father's Day, and Easter, and it's the most number of cards that are sent out of those four events. So yes, we love Mother's Day. We love our mums. We love showing that we appreciate our mums, and we like to do it in that personal way. And there is some scientific research which has shown that mums would much more prefer to receive a lovely card, a handwritten card, than an expensive gift. So it's a really nice thing to do for your mum.
But you've got to accept, it's become more commercial down the years, hasn't it, Mother's Day, than it used to be?
Everything's become more commercial than it used to be in every area of life. I think the great thing about cards is that this is a homegrown industry. It employs 100,000 people in the UK, and that's artists and designers and writers, and these are a lot of them. We have big businesses, but we've also got a lot of small businesses. It's a great industry to come into if you're a designer, and it's also a really female-centric industry as well. So many mums actually start up greeting card publishing businesses as a business that they can run from home.
There's a wonderful irony to that, isn't there? Mums.
I wouldn't say it's an irony at all. I think it's a fantastic, virtuous thing.
Creating the greeting cards they would like to be sent by other people. That's the irony in it, I suspect.
And that they would like to receive, yes.
What are the best-selling Mother's Day cards? What are the big favourites? Flowers on the front? Rabbits? Bunnies?
My goodness. The variety is so huge. I probably floral images probably top the designs, but my goodness, you could go into a card shop or any type of shop. 1 in 6 retailers sell cards. in this country, and it is a massive industry because we love them. We love the visual side of products and cards. It's all about the image on the front. It's not a brand-aware industry. You don't sell cards by brand. You buy a card because you like the image on the front, and that image communicates how you feel towards the person that you're going to give or send that card.
And you're not worried at all about these digital card companies there. You think there is something about getting it and having it on the mantelpiece, then slipping it in the drawer and finding it 6 months later and opening it again and reading it and just having that connection?
E-cards haven't taken off at all in this country. They really haven't. It's seen as an instant fix, whereas the joy of a greeting card and the value of a greeting card is the amount of time that you have spent finding the card, thinking about what you're going to write in the card, making it really personal, and then either giving it or taking the time to buy a stamp and send it, And I always really love that moment when you put a card through a post box, because you're sending it out into the world and it's going to reach that person. And it's a kind of bit of, that you're doing something really special for that person, and they're going to love it when it comes through their letterbox.
I always think it's funny when you get the big extravagant cards, you open it up and there's lots of verse inside, then at the bottom it says, "From your son," or something like that. So Sharon, what's happening? Are you a mum?
I am.
What happens in the home of the CEO of the Greeting Card Association of Great Britain on Mother's Day?
Well, we all come together. I celebrate with my mum and my sister, who is also a mum, and my son, and we all have a lovely meal together at home. And we give each other cards.
I should absolutely hope so as well in the circumstances. And the future for the industry, you think it's bright?
Absolutely bright. The size of the industry has actually grown. It's one of the few industries that hasn't been negatively impacted by digital, because they just mean so much.
Sharon, good luck to you this Sunday. Happy Mother's Day when it comes. That's Sharon Little, who is CEO of the Greeting Card Association. So what do you think about all this? Do we still need Mother's Day? She thinks we do, but she would say that, wouldn't she? What do you think? In this day and age, is Mother's Day still something we need in the calendar? A nursery in Belgium has decided to replace it with a Families Day instead, to better reflect the many forms that modern families take. So what does Mother's Day mean to you, and do we still need to have it? 08085 92 95 00 is the number to call. It's free to call BBC Radio Scotland, or you can text us on 80295.